Good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the interview with Christal Lepak on the author, getting to know the author of We Choose Joy. She was a part of this book as well. We were both authors in the anthology together. And today is her day to talk to you about who is she and introduce herself and share a little bit about why she chose to be in this anthology and a little bit of what she wants to share about her chapter. So let's get started. Christal, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Christal Lepak, and I live in Erie, Pennsylvania. Born and raised here my whole life. And as far as, okay, so the questions, a little bit about myself. So it's funny because when people ask you, the first thought immediately goes in my head, oh, I'm a mother of 5 and I have 2 grandchildren and blah, 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 blah. And in the business world, they don't want you to say that and stuff, but that is actually part of who I am. So I am a mother of 5. I'm a grandmother of 3 now. I've got a bonus granddaughter recently. And I also am a teacher. I am a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a niece, so I'm a little bit of everything all rolled into one, almost like the song says, and I can be, what I need to be when I need to be it. And I am by trade a teacher, and I have a master's degree, and I write programming for different nonprofits, and I have a side business that I've been doing, like an on the side business, but now I'm starting to pay attention to it more, to the point where I want to get an LLC for it. So I will be a small business owner. I guess I've always been kind of like an entrepreneur, and I have so many fires or pans in the fire. So it's kind of hard to say that I'm one thing. So a little bit about me: ADHD. There you go. All rolled up in one there. And writer, mother, grandmother, teacher. Yeah, that's
I
in
love
a
that.
nutshell.
To know you is to love you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Full of that wonderful energy. So let's get to the juicy part. What made
Yeah.
you decide to be a part of this anthology? Kind of like if there's a story behind you even becoming part of it. And tell us a little bit about the chapter. Like if someone hasn't read your chapter yet, what would you like them to know about what you wrote and shared with all of us?
Okay. So first part, how did I become part of this anthology? Well, Linda, she's the curator of the book, and she had done a first book of women that were over 60 and their stories. And it was just amazing listening to these women and their stories, and understanding that they all had this commonality, of just life. And to know them now, you would never believe those were where they came from. And I was just so impressed and overwhelmed with it. And prior to Linda even doing any of this stuff, her and I had talked, and I was like, oh my goodness, I want to do an anthology. I didn't know they were called anthology books. I said, I want to do a book with all my yayas, the group of women that I go to that help me through thick and thin, and just are always there for me. And they have a story, I have a story, you have a story, because if there's anything we've learned, your story is my story, is her story, is our story. And we are all living this life on this earth together. And instead of tearing down, we need to build up, and we need to support. And that's what my Yaya group is about. It's kind of like we're in that scene of Practical Magic. If you've ever seen this movie with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and there is a moment where they need support from the women, and they say, activate the phone tree, the phone tree. So we actually have a phone tree in my group, and when one is down, we activate the phone tree. And it's like all hands are on deck, full scale, yaya alert. And that's just kind of what we do. And with that energy and that support, the second time she wrote a book, she was like, would you like to be a part of it? I'm like, oh my goodness, yes. I mean, I didn't have to even think about it. It was just an immediate yes. But what was the most difficult thing was trying to figure out what to write about, right? We choose joy, and that was the theme, how, and everybody's had their caca sandwiches of life. We've all ate from that plate. We've all drank that Kool-Aid, and we bought into society's perceptions of what we should be, instead of understanding who we are and who we were born to be. So I had a story to tell, and it was I had tragedy from early age. Trauma raised me, and mental health was very prevalent in my family as far as the illnesses go. And so the abuses were there. And I didn't understand that because to me, it was normal. Everybody had gone through it, and it was just I hate to say the rite of passage even, but it was just kind of like your scars, that you just took on and you wore them. You took that mantle on and you wore your scars, you owned them, you know. So I'm just meditating and praying and trying to figure out what to write on. And I got to go to a workshop retreat weekend up at Kripalu, up in Massachusetts. And how that even happened was divine intervention. I won the trip out of a whim to apply for this with no other than Elizabeth Gilbert, author of Eat, Pray, Love, and all these other many wonderful books, Big Magic, and I'm just drawing blanks with everything, but she's, has a lot of books out and a lot of things to say. She does a lot of workshops and things like that, but she was bringing Dr. Tara Wright Trent, and I didn't know who that was at the time, but I did afterwards. And that weekend completely changed my life. And I feel like it was a gift from my daughter, who had passed away back in October of 2022, sadly. And that's why it was so hard to write. And I needed to go in and find out what I wanted to write about. Do I want to write about her addiction? Did I want to write about mental health? Do I want to write about, bad choices growing up? Did I want to write about my abuse? And I just prayed about it, meditated, and what came out of it was the pathway of the boulder, or the conquering the boulders in my path. And that's actually the name of the chapter. And ironically, I gave Elizabeth Gilbert a shout out. And it's just about that, life gives you up and down, and it's this messy roller coaster of a ride. And conquering those boulders in your path, sometimes you can, big faith can move a mountain, yes, but sometimes you got to climb those boulders to even get to the mountain. And these boulders can be quite big barriers in our lives. So how do we climb those boulders? And it's kind of like the one lady said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So it's kind of, how do you conquer the boulders in your path? One step at a time. So that's what the chapter is about, and about the vision that I have. It takes place in a grocery store, ironically, where a lot of us mothers find ourselves, in the grocery store aisle with our children. And at this time, I had 5 children, and they were all close in age. So it seemed like I always had one in the bun, a bun in the oven all the time. One. I remember even in a snowstorm, I had one inside of me, one on the back of me, one on the front of me, and I had 2 in the cart, and I have blankets over everybody, and I'm just pushing through a blizzard to get into Wegmans just so I can, get groceries. And I only had so much money for groceries, and a local radio show was there, and they were having a sing for your supper, so you could win a $25 gift card. And this was at Wegmans. I remember it so plainly, and we only had $25 for groceries that day. So my kids were like, Mom, sing our song, sing Teddy Bear. So I sang them the song Teddy Bear by Elvis, and I won a $25 gift card. So we had $50 that night for groceries. And so, just things like that, and finding that joy. Even though I was beat so down by that point in my life, just my child asking me to sing a teddy bear song, right? And I win $25, and I'm blessed now with $50 to feed my family. So yeah, conquering those boulders.
I love how in your chapter you wrote so descriptively. I felt like I was in that grocery store with you.
Oh,
And
yes.
I just like you took us on the journey and the imagery, and just the way that you invited us into that moment, as though you
Yeah.
were pulling us into that memory. And I know I was on the plane, on the way to our book signing. I'm in Colorado and the book signing was in Erie, and I needed, with an anthology, you can't just sit down and read every chapter. You kind of like have to open the book and go, this is the chapter I'm supposed to read right now. And I was on the way there and about to meet you for the first time. We had been friends for at least like the last 3 years, and we've talked on other avenues, but I really wanted to read your chapter there. And the best thing about these chapters is they're pretty quick reads. So it's like a great thing, like if you're in a bath or whatever and you want to like pick up and read 2 or 3 chapters, they go pretty quickly. Which those of us with any kind of attention span issues is great. Anyway, my point being that I literally, you're in your zone on an airplane, and I literally felt like you pulled me into that moment. And so as I was reading, it just was like, it was almost like I was holding your hand in that moment. And it was just so, and I purposely didn't share it with you until this interview, because I wanted to let the audience know, you are so open and so authentic and so vulnerable with like things that some people can't even imagine were part of your path and your journey and what you even to today continue to go through. And one word, and I haven't done this with any of the other authors, but the one word I think of when I think of you is warrior. And not because of the strong aspect of it or anything like that, because a lot of times we just do what needs to happen. We're great, say, thank you for calling us strong or whatever the thing is. But a warrior shows up and overcomes the battle, no matter what it takes, and is armored for that next one, even if it's another one that comes in while you're still fighting the original one. And so I wanted to give you that word in our interview. Didn't mean to make you cry, but
no, I'm touched. It's I allow myself to feel things, like you said, when drawing people in, and that's the thing, you have to allow yourself to literally wear your heart on the sleeve, but at the same time you have to have thick skin. So how do you do that? And I think it took me 53 years to find the happy medium when I write,
And I think it's through that choosing joy, knowing that you have the power of choice.
Yes.
Even if you're in the thick of it and you can't really be in that mindset of, oh, this is so joyous, da da da.
Right?
When you are out of it, kind of like the warrior, the war is over, you reflect on it, you go, what did I do well? What can I do better next time? And then the next one comes, and it's not a need to measure your worth. It's a need to know that when you know better, you do better. Just like Maya Angelou taught us, when you know better, you do better. And so I wanted to give you that feedback about my experience reading your chapter in particular, because it was, I'm a mom of 4, so I know what it's like to go to the grocery store.
Right.
And 4 kids.
We have kids, and I know even from our conversations, we have so many similar things that you and I personally share. And for the fact that, this was a complete meditative chapter, because I literally had so many moments. I even did the timeline. I did the outline. I mean, I did all the things that our workshops and our classes told us to do during, all those many Zooms that Linda had and everything. And it just wasn't connecting and resonating with me so much. And I'm like, no, this isn't it. This isn't it. And then I just sat down and I heard, right. I'm like, right, what? And I just write about the boulder. And I was like, write about the boulder, the ball, yeah. And I'm like, ding, 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 ding. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I just started writing. And then once I started writing, it was like a river. It was just flowing and gushing. It was, oh my God, Babs, it was like Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
So it just, yeah. And it was amazing. And when I got done with it, I was bawling. So yeah.
So that leads me into my next question. If another anthology was presented to you, would you be a part of it? And or would you ever consider writing your own book?
So yes and yes. I definitely would consider being part of an anthology book again, because that's just one moment in my lifetime of learning. My journey of learning. And I definitely, there are plans right now actually for my own story to be told. And for another book after that, which will be my daughter's story that I will be telling. And so for those that do not know, tragically, I lost my daughter October of 2022, October 4th of 2022, to fentanyl poisoning. She died of a heart attack due to many years of struggle with drugs. I see my grandson just turned 15. So we were for that many years dealing with her addiction. I should say she was dealing with her addiction, and it was just overflowing as addiction does. Most beautiful creature in the world, very talented. Just her body just couldn't take no more, and her heart gave out on her. But I have a 15-year-old grandson now that I am raising, and we are, doing the best we can. But everybody's going to go through stuff in their life. Some people may not have to go through so many hard things. And then there are some people that go through the hardest things in life that you cannot even understand or comprehend, and then there are people that don't have to go through anything. And it doesn't seem too fair, but that's where the underlying message of choosing joy is. And that's what you do. You get through your day by choosing something to focus on. Because my husband just beat me. How do I feel? Oh, I'm so no. You're not gonna feel joyous. You're gonna be like mother heifer, and you want to right. But then your daughter comes in, and they hop on your lap, and they're like, "Look at the coloring I made for you." Boom. See what I'm saying? You can't live in that moment, and you have to remember that emotions are feelings, and feelings change like that, right? So we go on our feelings and we make irrational decisions, and we don't think things through because, I don't know, for me, I'm German or not German. I'm sorry. I'm Irish and Italian, and my kids have some German in them. But so they say, oh, we got those hot-headed tempers, Well, then that's where you stop. You practice the pause. You breathe and you go, okay, rationally, let me look at this, and get your posse, get your group, get your yayas, even if it's 1, 2, reach out to the authors in the book. I bet you they'll answer you all back, because I know I do.
Yeah, all of our personal information or a way to reach us is in there. I love that, because if anybody resonates with a particular chapter, they don't have to feel so alone. And so you have shared so many amazing things, but I want to give you just the opportunity. Is there anything else you want to share, or do you feel like you have shared what is on your heart for this interview? What do you think?
Rattle on like a chatty Cathy, I will. Anytime you give me a chance to talk, I always said it takes me 20 minutes to leave someone's house usually, because you just start talking so much, or at an event or whatnot. But just sharing with everybody that, you're not alone. You have a story to tell. Write it down, even if it's not for anybody else to read, even if it's just for yourself to get it out of you. Do that, please. Find your posse, find your group, find your support, find your joy. Even if you're like, oh, I don't like people, and then my town is too small, or Well, then reach out to one of the authors, because if you believe in yourself and you have another person believe in yourself, that's two. But even if you don't believe in yourself and you get that other person, they believe in you. And then you're going to believe in yourself, because nobody's going to waste their time with anybody, because there's nothing as such of a waste of time as a human being. So that's what we have to understand. Time can be your commodity or it can be your detriment. Yeah, it's just the way you look at things and perceive things and choose, because you have the choice and you only get one of these lives. There's no do-over button. This is it. This is it. You know what? Yesterday happened. Oh, well, I can't do nothing about that. And you know what? Today's almost over. Okay, I'm still going to try to make it a good one, right? And then tomorrow when I get up, I'll be like, all right, I got to try to be better than I was yesterday. I didn't get on the bike yesterday and I didn't do my exercise. So I'm going to try that today, but I'm not going to kick myself in the teeth. Yeah. I'm tired of that. It's exhausting. To live up to my standards is exhausting.
Yes. I think that is the perfect place to stop, because living up to our standards, though we feel that they are other people's standards, they really are ours. They are exhausting, and we have to give ourselves permission to just stop.
I love that you just said, give ourselves permission. Real quick, reminded me of, write yourself a permission slip from the principal. This way now you say, okay, Christal has my permission to give herself 10 minutes today to dance around like a fool, or Christal has my permission today to take 5 minutes for herself to laugh.
Exactly. Give yourself permission to
give yourself
fill in the blank.
Yes. Write it physically. If you have to physically write it, physically write a permission slip, because that's from the principal's office.
And you're the principal. So, all right, Christal. Well, thank you so much. This was episode 5. I had so much fun with you, as I always do every time we get on the phone together. And just thank you for giving me your time, because I know how precious it is.
Oh, thank you for being so good.
And we will just bring on more authors. So this is Christal, and thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone.